Welcome. You made it back to the second part of this amazing story. If you missed the part 1, the link is in the description of this video, go watch it now. Let's begin. Aniyah was packing up to leave when Vincent appeared in her office doorway. Come with me. Where? Just come. He led her to his private office, the inner sanctum where deals were made and empires were built. But instead of sitting at his desk, Vincent pulled out a folder and handed it to her. What is this? Open it. Aniyah opened the folder. Inside were medical documents, treatment plans, cost estimates, and a letter from her mother's doctor recommending the experimental therapy Margaret needed. Vincent, before you say anything, let me explain. He moved around the desk to stand in front of her. This isn't me paying for your mother's treatment. This is me connecting you with a clinical trial. The treatment is free if she qualifies, and based on her medical history, she will. I know the head of research at Mass General. I made a call. That's all. Aniyah's hands were shaking. You did this for her. I did it for you. Vincent's voice was soft. You said you couldn't accept money from me. You were right. But this is just information. A connection. What you do with it is your choice. Tears blurred her vision. Why? Because I love you. Because your mother is important to you, which makes her important to me. Because I want to take care of you without making you feel owned. He cupped her face gently. Because you deserve someone who fights for the people you love. Aniyah set down the folder and threw her arms around him. Vincent caught her, holding her close, and she let herself cry against his chest. From relief. From gratitude. From the overwhelming realization that this man loved her enough to respect her boundaries while still finding a way to help. Thank you, she whispered. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. She pulled back to look at him. You listened. You respected my boundaries. You found a way to help without making it transactional. That means everything, Vincent. He kissed her forehead. Then let me earn you properly. Let me take you somewhere this weekend. Just us. No work. No hospitals. Just two people figuring out what this is. Where? My family has a house in the Hamptons. Private beach. No one around for miles. We could. Yes. Vincent blinked. Yes. Yes, I'll go away with you this weekend. Aniyah smiled. I'm all in, Vincent. If you are. I've been all in since the moment you walked into my life. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. I'm just glad you finally caught up. The Hamptons house wasn't a house. It was an estate. Sprawling beachfront property with a main residence, guest houses, a pool, and private access to a stretch of sand that looked like something from a magazine. This is modest, Aniyah said dryly as Vincent pulled into the circular driveway. By Mangano standards, it is. He grabbed their bags from the trunk. My father has 3 properties twice this size. This was my grandmother's. She left it to me when she died. The one who said love is courage? Yeah. Vincent's expression softened. She was the only one in the family who believed I could be more than what I was raised to be. She would have liked you. They spent the weekend learning each other in ways that had nothing to do with work. Vincent cooked breakfast badly, but the effort was endearing. Aniyah beat him at cards and laughed at his competitive streak. They walked on the beach at sunrise, talking about everything and nothing. They made love slowly, carefully, with Vincent treating her like she was precious. On their last night, they sat on the deck watching the sunset. Vincent had his arm around her, Aniyah's head on his shoulder, and everything felt perfect. I have to tell you something, Vincent said quietly. Aniyah's stomach dropped. That sounds ominous. Not ominous. Just honest. He turned to face her. There are parts of my life that aren't clean. Business dealings that exist in gray areas. People I associate with who aren't good people. I've spent years building something legitimate, but the foundation was built on family money that came from, he stopped. From places I'm not proud of. I know, Aniyah said simply. Vincent stared at her. You know? I'm not stupid, Vincent. I work for you. I see the encrypted calls and offshore accounts. I know your father was Carlo Mangano. I know what that name means. She took his hand. What I don't know is whether you're still part of that world. No. Not for years. Vincent's grip tightened on her hand. I cut ties when I took over the company. Legitimized everything I could. But there are connections. People who knew my father who expect things from me. I manage those relationships carefully, but they exist. Okay. Vincent looked stunned. That's it. Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I'm shocked? That I'm scared? Aniyah shook her head. I knew what I was getting into when I fell in love with you. I'm not naive. But I also know you, Vincent. I know you're trying to be better. That's enough for me. You deserve someone without this baggage. I deserve someone who loves me. Someone who shows up. Someone who respects me. She cupped his face. That's you. The rest is just noise. Vincent pulled her into his lap, burying his face in her neck. I don't deserve you. Probably not. Aniyah smiled. Good thing I'm not giving you a choice. He laughed, a real laugh, unguarded and genuine, and kissed her until they were both breathless. Wait. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, so you get notified for the next amazing stories. Like and comment. The most liked comment will get a shout out in the next story. Now let's continue. That night, wrapped in Vincent's arms in the massive bed, Aniyah thought about what Jessica had said. Men like Vincent Mangano didn't do casual. When they committed completely. She was starting to understand what that meant. They returned to work Monday morning separately, maintaining the illusion of professionalism. It lasted approximately 4 hours. At noon, Vincent called her into his office. Close the door. Aniyah did, turning to find him already moving around the desk toward her. Vincent, we're at work. I know. He backed her against the door. I've been watching you all morning. Wanting you. Trying to focus on contracts when all I can think about is how you looked in my bed yesterday. We agreed to keep things professional here. I'm rethinking that agreement. His hands braced on either side of her head. I'm rethinking a lot of things. Like what? Like how long I'm willing to pretend you're just my assistant. His mouth found her neck. Like how much longer I can watch other men look at you without making it clear you're mine. Aniyah's breath caught. Possessive much. Completely. Vincent pulled back to look at her, and his eyes were dark with want. I want everyone to know. I want to take you to company events as my date. I want to kiss you in the elevator. I want. Someone knocked on the door. They sprang apart. Vincent straightened his tie while Aniyah smoothed her dress, both trying to look professional. Vincent opened the door to find David Chen holding a tablet. Sorry to interrupt, David said, though his knowing smirk suggested he wasn't sorry at all. The New York investors want to move up the timeline. They're in town tonight and want a meeting. Tonight? Vincent frowned. That's short notice. They're bringing serious money. We should take the meeting. Vincent glanced at Aniyah. They had plans, dinner at a restaurant she'd been dying to try. She saw the conflict in his eyes and made the decision for him. Take the meeting, she said. I'll reschedule our reservation. Aniyah. It's fine. Work comes first. She smiled to show she meant it. I'll prep the materials. But later, as she sat alone in the office while Vincent was across town at the investor meeting, Aniyah couldn't help wondering if this was their future. Vincent pulled between business and her. Her always understanding, always accommodating, always coming second. Her phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. I promise. She stared at the message for a long time before responding. I know you will. But the doubt had already planted itself. The pattern continued over the next month. Vincent would make plans, then cancel for business emergencies. He'd promise quiet evenings, then get called away for crisis management. He was attentive when they were together, but they were together less and less. Aniyah told herself she understood. Vincent was building an empire. That required sacrifice. But understanding didn't make it hurt less when he missed dinner 3 nights in a row. Or when he fell asleep during the movie she'd been excited to watch with him. Or when she woke up alone in his bed because he'd gotten an early call from Tokyo. Her mother noticed. "You look tired, baby," Margaret said during one of Aniyah's visits to the hospital. The clinical trial was working, she was stronger every week, but her eyes were still too sharp. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're in love with a workaholic." Margaret patted the bed beside her. "Sit. Talk to me." Aniyah Saturday. "It's complicated. Love always is. He's trying. He really is. But his work will always be there," Margaret finished. "The question is whether you will be." "What do you mean?" "I mean that men like Vincent Mangano are used to people waiting for them. Used to being the priority. If you don't make him choose, make him prove you matter more than the next deal, you'll spend your whole life coming second." "I can't give him an ultimatum." "Why not?" "Because," Aniyah stopped. "Because I'm afraid he'll choose the work." Margaret squeezed her hand. "Then you already have your answer, baby. Love isn't supposed to feel like you're begging for scraps of someone's time." Aniyah went home and cried. Then she got angry. Then she made a decision. The next morning, she walked into Vincent's office and closed the door. "We need to talk." Vincent looked up from his laptop, immediately concerned. "What's wrong? This isn't working." All the color drained from his face. "What? This? Us? The way we're trying to balance everything." Aniyah crossed her arms. "You've cancelled on me 7 times in the past 3 weeks. You missed my mother's birthday dinner. You fell asleep during the one movie night we managed to schedule. I understand you're busy, Vincent. But I can't keep coming last." "You don't come last." "Then what do I come? 3rd? 5th? Somewhere after the Singapore deal and the investor meetings and the crisis management." Her voice cracked. "I love you. But I'm not going to spend my life waiting for you to have time for me." Vincent stood, moving around the desk. "Aniyah, I'm not done." She held up a hand. "I need you to decide what you want. Really want. Because if I'm just someone convenient, someone who understands your world and doesn't ask for too much, then tell me now. Let me go now before I'm in so deep I can't survive losing you." "You think you're convenient?" Vincent's voice was rough. "You think I don't?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "You're right. I've been terrible about making time. About prioritizing us. But it's not because you don't matter. It's because," he stopped. "Because what?" "Because I'm terrified." The admission seemed to cost him. "Because every time I'm with you, I want more. I want to drop everything and just be with you. I want to ignore calls and cancel meetings and say fuck it to all of it. And that scares me, Aniyah. Losing control scares me. I'm not asking you to lose control. I'm asking you to let me in. To make space for me in your life that isn't whatever scraps you have left after everything else." Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. "What are you doing?" "David. Clear my schedule for the rest of the week." Pause. "I don't care. Push everything. Reschedule Tokyo. Tell the board I'm unavailable." Another pause. "Because I have more important things to do." He hung up and looked at Aniyah. "Done." "Vincent, you can't just watch me." He moved toward her. "You're right. I've been choosing wrong. Hiding behind work because it's safer than admitting how much I need you. But I'm done being safe. I'm done pretending the deals matter more than you do. What about Tokyo? Fuck Tokyo. Fuck the board. Fuck all of it." He cupped her face. "You want to know what I choose? I choose you. Every time. From now on, I choose you." Aniyah felt tears prick her eyes. "You can't just drop everything." "Why not? I'm the boss. That's literally the one perk of running this company, I get to decide what matters." His thumbs brushed away her tears. "And you matter more than any deal. More than any contract. More than anything. What if you resent me later? What if?" "I won't." Vincent's voice was absolutely certain. "You know why? Because you're not asking me to give up my work. You're asking me to balance it with my life. With us. That's not unreasonable. That's human. So what now? Now we leave. Go somewhere. Anywhere. Spend a week just being together without phones or emails or investor meetings. He smiled. Let me prove I can choose you. A whole week. A whole week. Maybe more if I like it. Vincent pulled her against him. I love you, Aniyah Roseman. I'm sorry I've been so bad at showing it. Let me do better. Aniyah looked up at the man who'd just cleared his schedule for her, who was looking at her like she was his entire world, who was finally putting her first. Okay, she whispered. Prove it. He did. They went to Italy. Vincent's grandmother had a villa in Tuscany that sat empty most of the year, sprawling vineyards and olive groves and a view that made Aniyah's breath catch. For 7 days, they existed in a bubble. No work. No phones. Just them. Vincent taught her to make pasta from scratch. They drove through the countryside on a vintage Vespa. They made love in the afternoon with the windows open and the smell of lavender drifting through. They talked about dreams and fears and the future they were building together. On the last night, they had dinner on the terrace under the stars. Vincent had actually cooked, no help, and Aniyah was impressed by how good it was. You've been holding out on me, she said, savoring the risotto. My grandmother taught me. She said a man who can't feed himself is useless. Vincent smiled at the memory. She had strong opinions about a lot of things. Tell me about her. Vincent talked about Rosa Mangano, a tiny woman with an iron will who'd kept her husband's empire running while he was in prison. Who'd pushed Vincent to go to college, to build something legitimate. Who'd made him promise on her deathbed that he wouldn't waste his life on violence. She's the reason I'm not my father, Vincent said quietly. The reason I believed I could be something different. I wish I could have met her. She would have loved you. He reached across the table, taking Aniyah's hand. She would have said you're exactly what I need. What do you need? Someone who sees me. Really sees me. Underneath all he gestured vaguely. Underneath the name and the money and the carefully constructed image. Someone who knows the worst parts of me and loves me anyway. I do love you, Aniyah said. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. What parts scare you? The part that cracked the champagne glass. The part that ran a background check on Marcus. The part that's so used to controlling everything that letting go feels like dying. Vincent was quiet for a moment. You're right to be scared of those parts. I'm scared of them too. But you make me want to be better than those parts. You make me want to be the man who deserves you instead of the man who just takes what he wants. Vincent. Aniyah stood and moved around the table to straddle his lap. I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be present. I need you to choose me. That's all. I'm choosing you. He pulled her closer. Every day. Every moment. For the rest of my life, I'm choosing you. Is that a proposal? The question hung in the air between them. Vincent's eyes widened slightly, and Aniyah immediately wanted to take it back. Too soon. Too much. Too. Yes, Vincent said. What? Yes, that's a proposal. He shifted her off his lap and dropped to one knee. I don't have a ring. I didn't plan this. But I'm asking anyway. Marry me, Aniyah. Build a life with me. Let me spend every day proving I can be the man you deserve. Aniyah's heart was hammering. Vincent. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together a few months. But I've known for 2 years that you're it for me. I've known since the day you walked into my office and called me out for being unnecessarily intimidating during an interview. I've known since you stayed late to help me close the merger even though I didn't ask. I've known, his voice roughened. I've known since I saw you with Marcus and wanted to burn the world down because someone else was making you smile. That's not healthy. I never said I was healthy. I said I love you. Vincent took her hands. I will spend the rest of my life learning to be better for you. Learning to balance work and life. Learning to let go of control. But I need you to say yes first. I need you to take this risk with me. Aniyah looked down at him, this powerful, dangerous man on his knees, offering her everything. She thought about all the reasons to say no. The complications. The risks. The very real possibility that loving Vincent Mangano would break her heart. Then she thought about his smile when he looked at her. The way he held her like she was precious. The clinical trial he'd found for her mother. The week he'd just given her without hesitation. Yes, she said. Vincent surged to his feet, pulling her into a kiss that stole her breath. When they finally broke apart, both grinning like idiots, he pressed his forehead to hers. I'll get you a ring when we get home. Something perfect. I don't need perfect. I just need you. You have me. Vincent's voice was fierce. You've had me from the beginning. I was just too stupid to admit it. They made love that night under the Italian stars, and Aniyah felt her future clicking into place. Not perfect. Not easy. But real. Honest. Theirs. They returned to New York engaged and happier than Aniyah had ever been. Vincent made good on his promises, cleared space in his schedule, made their relationship a priority, showed up when he said he would. The office figured it out within a week. Aniyah expected gossip, expected judgment, expected someone to make a comment about sleeping her way to the top. Instead, the staff seemed relieved. Finally, David Chen said when Vincent formally announced their engagement to the executive team. Do you know how insufferable he was before you? The man was a robot. I was professional, Vincent protested. You were a nightmare. David grinned at Aniyah. Welcome to the family. Please keep him human. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony, healthy enough now to walk Aniyah down the aisle. Vincent's eyes were suspiciously bright when he said his vows. I promise to choose you, he said, voice rough with emotion. Every day, in every way. I promise to make space for us even when work demands everything. I promise to love you, all of you, even the parts that challenge me. Especially the parts that challenge me. Aniyah's vows were simpler. I promise to see you. Really see you. Not the name or the power or the carefully constructed image. Just you, the man who makes terrible pasta and remembers my favorite flowers and loves me enough to get on his knees. I choose you, Vincent Mangano. Today and always. They honeymooned in Tuscany, at the villa where he'd proposed. And when they returned to New York, Aniyah moved into Vincent's penthouse officially. No more pretending they lived separately. No more careful boundaries. Just them. Building a life together. 6 months after the wedding, Aniyah found Vincent in his home office at 2 a.m. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian, his free hand clenching and unclenching in that telltale sign of stress. She waited until he hung up. What's wrong? Vincent looked up, exhaustion in every line of his face. Nothing. Go back to bed. Vincent. He sighed. It's an old problem. Someone from my father's world trying to drag me back in. Thinks I owe them something because of family loyalty. What kind of something? The kind I promised you I wouldn't do. Vincent scrubbed a hand over his face. I've been handling it. Keeping them at arm's length. But they're getting more aggressive. Aniyah crossed to him, turning his chair so he faced her. Tell me what you need. I need you to trust me. I need you to know that I'm not that man. That I won't become that man. I know that. She straddled his lap. I also know you don't have to handle everything alone anymore. You have me. Use me. Vincent's arms came around her waist. How? Let me help. I read people, remember? Maybe I can see something you're missing. Or maybe I'm just here to remind you who you are when the pressure gets bad. She cupped his face. You're not alone in this, Vincent. Not anymore. His expression softened. I don't deserve you. You keep saying that. I keep staying. She kissed him gently. Come to bed. Whatever this is, it'll still be there in the morning. But tonight, you need rest. Vincent let her pull him to bed. Let her hold him while he fell asleep. And in the morning, he told her everything about the situation. The threats. The pressure. The fine line he was walking between his past and his present. Together, they came up with a plan. Together, they handled it. It wouldn't be the last crisis. There would be others, business problems, family drama, moments when Vincent's past tried to claim him. But they would face them together. Because that was the promise they'd made. To choose each other. To show up. To build something real despite the complications. 2 years after their wedding, Aniyah stood in the penthouse living room watching the sunrise. She heard Vincent before she saw him, his arms sliding around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Couldn't sleep," he murmured. "Just thinking. About how different my life is now. 2 years ago, I was your assistant. Trying to keep my distance. Trying not to want you. And now you're my husband. My partner. The person I trust more than anyone." She turned in his arms. "Now I can't imagine my life without you." Vincent's smile was soft. "Good. Because you're stuck with me. Promises, promises." He kissed her, slow and sweet and full of the love they'd built together. When they broke apart, he kept her close. "I have something to tell you," Vincent said. Aniyah's stomach dropped. "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous. Surprising." He pulled back to look at her. "I've been talking to the board. About restructuring my role." "What do you mean?" "I mean I want to step back. Not completely, I'll still be CEO. But I want David to take on more operational responsibilities. I want to work less. Travel more. Spend time with my wife before." He stopped. "Before what?" "Before we have kids. If we have kids. If that's something you want." Vincent looked almost nervous. "I know we haven't talked about it seriously, but I want that." Aniyah felt tears prick her eyes. "I want everything with you, Vincent. Kids. Adventures. Growing old together. All of it." Relief flooded his face. "Good. Because I want that too. And I can't do it if I'm working 80 hours a week. So I'm making changes. Real changes. Proving I meant it when I said I choose you. You don't have to prove anything." "Yes, I do." Vincent pulled her close. "Every single day, I have to prove I'm worthy of you. That I can be the man you see when you look at me. That I can build the life we both deserve." Aniyah pressed her face to his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I love you. I love you too." His arms tightened around her. "More than I ever thought I could love anyone." They stood there as the sun rose over New York, wrapped in each other, planning their future. It wouldn't be perfect. There would be challenges and setbacks and moments when Vincent's possessive streak made Aniyah want to scream. There would be days when work demanded too much and nights when old ghosts came calling. But they would face it together. Because Vincent Mangano had learned something crucial in the 2 years since he cracked that champagne glass. Love isn't about control. It's about surrender. It's about choosing someone else's happiness over your own ego. It's about letting go of the walls you've built and trusting someone to see you at your worst and love you anyway. And Aniyah Roseman, now Aniyah Mangano, had learned that sometimes the scariest risks are the ones most worth taking. That loving someone who terrifies you can be the most courageous thing you ever do. That power imbalances can be overcome with honesty and respect and 2 people committed to building something real. They'd started with jealousy and possessiveness and a cracked champagne glass. They'd built something that looked like forever. 5 years later, Vincent stood in the hospital waiting room, pacing like a caged animal. David was there, trying to distract him with business updates that Vincent couldn't focus on. His mother had flown in from Florida, making disapproving noises about hospital coffee. Margaret was somewhere inside with Aniyah, coaching her through labor. Vincent's hands were shaking. "She's fine," David said for the 1,000th time. "Women have babies every day. Not my wife. Not my baby. Still counts as every day." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Mangano? You can come back now." Vincent moved so fast he almost knocked over a chair. The nurse led him through sterile hallways to a private room where Aniyah was sitting up in bed, exhausted and beautiful and holding a tiny bundle wrapped in a blue blanket. "Vincent." Her voice was hoarse but happy. "Come meet your son." Vincent crossed to the bed on numb legs. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. He'd stared down dangerous men without flinching. But looking at his newborn son, he felt tears streaming down his face. "He's perfect," Vincent whispered. "He has your eyes. Aniyah shifted the baby into Vincent's arms. And your stubbornness. He didn't want to come out. Vincent cradled his son, this tiny human who was half him and half the woman he loved more than anything. Does he have a name? I was thinking Marco. After my grandfather. But his middle name, she smiled. His middle name is going to be Vincent. Marco Vincent Mangano. Vincent tested it out. It's perfect. He sat on the edge of the bed, and Aniyah leaned against him, the three of them cocooned in their own world. Vincent pressed a kiss to his son's forehead, then to Aniyah's temple. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For saying yes. For taking the risk. For giving me this. He gestured to the baby, to her, to the life they'd built. For making me believe I could be more than what I was raised to be. You were always more, Aniyah said softly. You just needed someone to show you. They sat there for a long moment, watching their son sleep. Vincent thought about the man he'd been 5 years ago, cold, controlled, convinced that vulnerability was weakness. That man had cracked a champagne glass over jealousy and thought he could own someone. This man, the one holding his son, sitting beside his wife, knew better. Love wasn't about ownership. It was about partnership. About choosing each other every single day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. I'm going to be a good father, Vincent said, more to himself than to Aniyah. I know you are. I'm going to teach him to be strong but gentle. Powerful but kind. To respect women. To value family. Vincent looked at his wife. To love someone the way I love you. Aniyah's eyes filled with tears. He's lucky to have you. We're all lucky. Vincent pulled her closer. I'm the luckiest man alive. The door opened quietly, and Margaret peeked in, her face lighting up when she saw the baby. Can I? Of course. Aniyah gestured her in. Come meet your grandson. Margaret had been cancer-free for 4 years now, the clinical trial Vincent had found proving to be everything they'd hoped. She was healthy, vibrant, and currently crying as she held her grandson for the first time. He's beautiful, Margaret whispered. He looks just like you, Vincent. God help him, Aniyah muttered, and Vincent laughed. Over the next hour, the room filled with family. David brought flowers and terrible jokes. Vincent's mother brought gifts and advice neither of them asked for. The security team sent a massive teddy bear that Marco wouldn't be able to play with for years. But eventually, everyone left, and it was just the three of them again. Vincent lay on the narrow hospital bed beside Aniyah, Marco sleeping in the bassinet next to them. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and their son's occasional snuffling sounds. I love you, Vincent said into the darkness. I love you too. Aniyah's hand found his. Even when you're being possessive and overbearing. Especially then. Especially then. She squeezed his fingers. You're a good man, Vincent Mangano. I'm glad I took the risk. Me too. They fell asleep like that, hands linked, their son safe beside them, the life they'd built together stretching out before them like a promise. Marco was 3 months old when the real trouble started. Vincent was in his home office, reviewing contracts while Aniyah fed the baby in the living room. His phone rang, a number he hadn't seen in years. A number he'd hoped never to see again. Mangano, he answered cautiously. Vincent. The voice on the other end was smooth, dangerous. Salvatore Russo, one of his father's old associates. It's been too long. Not long enough. Vincent kept his voice neutral. What do you want, Sal? I want to talk. About business. About family obligations. I don't have family obligations to you. Your father would disagree. My father is dead. Vincent's grip tightened on the phone. And I've made it clear I'm not part of that world anymore. You think you can just walk away? Use the family name, use the family money to build your empire, and pretend you're clean? Sal's voice hardened. That's not how this works, Vincent. You owe us. I owe you nothing. We'll see about that. You have 24 hours to set up a meeting, or I start making things very uncomfortable for you. For your business. For your family. The line went dead. Vincent sat there, his mind racing. This was exactly what he'd been afraid of. The past he'd tried so hard to escape, reaching out to claim him. To drag him back into the darkness he'd fought so hard to leave behind. Vincent. Aniyah's voice came from the doorway. She was holding Marco, concern on her face. Who was that? He couldn't lie to her. Old business. From my father's time. She studied him for a long moment, then came into the office and closed the door. Tell me. Vincent told her everything. About Salvatore Russo. About the implied threats. About the 24 hours he had to comply or face consequences. What are you going to do? Aniyah asked when he finished. I'm going to meet with him. Hear what he wants. Try to negotiate a way out that doesn't involve. He stopped, glancing at Marco. That doesn't involve going back to that life, Aniyah finished. Okay. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. Vincent. No. His voice was firm. These are dangerous people. I'm not putting you or Marco at risk. And you think leaving us here while you walk into potential danger is better? Aniyah moved closer. We're a team, remember? You don't get to protect me by shutting me out. This is different. It's not different. It's just scary. She shifted Marco to one arm and took Vincent's hand with the other. I know you want to shield us from this. But that's not how marriage works. We face things together. What if something happens to you? What if something happens to you? She cupped his face. I need you to trust me. Trust us. We're stronger together than you are alone. Vincent looked at his wife and his son, everything he had to lose. Every reason to be careful, to be smart, to keep them far away from his past. But she was right. They were stronger together. Okay, he said finally. But you stay back. You observe. You don't engage unless I tell you to. Deal. The next evening, Vincent and Aniyah met Salvatore Russo at a private club in Manhattan. Marco was with Margaret, surrounded by security Vincent had personally vetted. David knew where they were going and had instructions to call the police if they didn't check in every 30 minutes. Sal was waiting in a back room, 2 bodyguards flanking him. He was older than Vincent remembered, grey at the temples, lines around his eyes, but still dangerous. Still someone who'd killed men without hesitation. Vincent. Sal's eyes slid to Aniyah. And you brought your wife. How domestic. This is Aniyah. My partner. Vincent kept his voice steady. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of her. Interesting. Sal gestured to the chairs across from him. Sit. They Saturday. Vincent positioned himself slightly in front of Aniyah, a subtle but deliberate move. Sal noticed and smirked. I'll make this simple, Sal said. Your father made promises. Deals that were supposed to extend to the next generation. You've ignored those obligations for years, hiding behind your legitimate business. But the time has come to pay your debts. I don't have debts to you. Your father borrowed money from our organization. A lot of money. He never paid it back. With interest, that debt is now $10 million. Sal leaned forward. You have 2 weeks to pay, or we start taking collateral. That's extortion. That's business. Sal's smile was cold. And if you don't pay, we'll make sure everyone knows exactly where your startup capital came from. We'll expose every dirty dollar your father funneled into your precious empire. Your legitimate business will crumble. Your reputation will be destroyed. And you, he pointed at Vincent. You'll end up just like him. In prison or in the ground. Vincent felt Aniyah's hand on his arm, a silent reminder to stay calm. He took a breath. Even if what you're saying is true, and I don't concede that it is, $10 million in 2 weeks is impossible. Then start liquidating assets. Sal stood. 2 weeks, Vincent. Don't make me come looking for you. He left, bodyguards trailing behind him. Vincent and Aniyah sat in silence for a moment. Then Vincent turned to her. Tell me what you saw. He's lying about something. Aniyah's eyes were thoughtful. The debt might be real, but the amount or the timeline, something's off. He kept touching his watch when he talked about the money. And his bodyguards looked confused when he mentioned your father's promises. So this isn't about debt. This is about leverage. Aniyah met his eyes. He wants you compromised. Desperate. Under his control. The question is why? Vincent pulled out his phone and sent a text to his head of security. Then one to David. Then one to a lawyer he kept on retainer for situations exactly like this. We're going to fight this, he said. We're going to dig into his claims, find proof that my father settled any debts before he died. We're going to. Vincent. Aniyah took his hand. Breathe. He breathed. Let himself feel her touch, her presence, the reminder that he wasn't alone in this. We'll handle it, Aniyah said firmly. Together. Like we handle everything. They did handle it. Over the next 2 weeks, Vincent's team uncovered documents proving that Carlo Mangano had paid off all outstanding debts before his death. Sal's claim was fabricated, an attempt to extort money using Vincent's fear of his past coming to light. Vincent met Sal one more time, this time with lawyers and evidence and a very clear message. He wasn't the kind of man who could be intimidated. Come at me again, Vincent said quietly, and I'll make sure every federal agency knows about your operation. I still have contacts, Sal. I still know where the bodies are buried. Try me. Sal backed off. Disappeared back into whatever hole he'd crawled out of. But the encounter left its mark. Vincent became more paranoid about security. More protective of Aniyah and Marco. More determined to sever every last tie to his father's world. I'm sorry, he told Aniyah one night, holding her in bed. I'm sorry you had to see that. Had to be part of that. I'm not. She kissed his shoulder. I'm glad I was there. Glad I could help. That's what partners do. I just want to give you a normal life. I don't want normal. I want real. Aniyah propped herself up to look at him. This is real, Vincent. The good and the bad and the scary parts. I signed up for all of it when I said yes. Stop trying to protect me from your past. It's part of you, which makes it part of us. Vincent pulled her close, grateful beyond words for this woman who saw all of him and loved him anyway. I don't deserve you, he said for the 1000th time. You keep saying that, Aniyah replied, smiling against his chest. I keep staying. Marco was 2 years old when Aniyah found out she was pregnant again. This time with twins. Vincent nearly passed out when the ultrasound tech revealed 2 heartbeats. Twins, he said faintly. We're having twins. We're having twins, Aniyah confirmed, laughing at his expression. I don't know how to handle 3 kids. You don't know how to handle 1 kid. You're just very good at pretending. She took his hand. We'll figure it out. Together. The twins, 2 girls they named Sophia and Isabella, arrived 6 months later, healthy and loud and absolutely perfect. Marco was fascinated by his little sisters, constantly wanting to help feed them or rock them or sing them the off-key lullabies Vincent had taught him. Their penthouse became chaos. Beautiful, exhausting, wonderful chaos. Vincent scaled back his work even more, determined not to miss these years. David officially took over as COO, handling day-to-day operations while Vincent focused on strategic direction and family. You've gone soft, David teased one afternoon, watching Vincent leave early for Sophia's first pediatrician appointment. I've gone smart, Vincent corrected. What's the point of having everything if you miss the important moments? He made it to the appointment. Made it to all the appointments. Made it to Marco's preschool concerts and the twins' first smiles and every middle-of-the-night feeding that Aniyah would let him handle. People who'd known him in the early days barely recognized him. Vincent Mangano, once cold and ruthless and controlled, was now the man who wore spit-up on his expensive suits and left board meetings early to read bedtime stories. Aniyah loved him for it. You're a good father, she told him one night, watching him rock Isabella back to sleep. I'm trying. You're succeeding. She moved to stand beside him. Our kids are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. Vincent looked down at his daughter's sleeping face. Lucky to have you. Lucky to have this life. I don't take it for granted, Aniyah. Not for a second. She kissed him softly. I know you don't. The years passed in a blur of birthday parties and family vacations and quiet moments stolen between chaos. Marco started kindergarten. The twins learned to walk, then run, then climb everything in sight. Vincent's hair started graying at the temples, and Aniyah found her first wrinkle, which Vincent immediately declared made her even more beautiful. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Vincent took Aniyah back to Tuscany. Back to the villa where he'd proposed. Margaret and Vincent's mother watched the kids, an arrangement that would likely result in the children being spoiled beyond recognition, but they didn't care. 10 years, Aniyah said, standing on the same terrace where Vincent had knelt. Can you believe it? Barely. Vincent came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Best 10 years of my life. Even with the sleep deprivation and the twin meltdowns and the time Marco decided to paint the living room wall with spaghetti sauce? Especially with all of that. He turned her to face him. You know what I think about sometimes? What? That night I saw you with Marcus. How close I came to losing you before we even started. Vincent shook his head. If I'd been too proud to chase you. If you'd been too smart to give me a chance. We'd have missed all of this. But we didn't miss it. Aniyah cupped his face. We took the risk. We fought for each other. We built something real. We did. Vincent pulled a small box from his pocket. Which is why I want to do this properly. Aniyah's breath caught. Vincent. He opened the box to reveal a new ring different from the massive diamond he'd given her 10 years ago. This one was more subtle, elegant, with 3 stones representing their 3 children. Marry me again, Vincent said softly. Renew our vows. Promise me another 10 years. Another 50. However long we get. Tears spilled down Aniyah's cheeks. Yes. Always yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, next to her original wedding band, and kissed her like they were young again. Like they were standing in that restaurant alley, admitting the truth for the first time. They renewed their vows the next day, just the 2 of them and a local priest who barely spoke English. It didn't matter. The words were in their hearts. I choose you, Vincent said, echoing his original vows. Every day. In every way. For the rest of my life. I choose you, Aniyah replied. The man you were. The man you are. The man you're still becoming. All of it. All of you. They spent a week in Italy, reconnecting without the demands of work or children. When they returned to New York, they were ready for the beautiful chaos of their life. 20 years after that first crack of the champagne glass, Vincent Mangano stood in his living room surrounded by family. Marco was 22 now, graduating from Columbia with honors. Sophia and Isabella were 18, heading to different colleges in the fall. The penthouse that had once been sleek and modern was now lived in, warm, covered in family photos and children's artwork that Vincent refused to take down. Aniyah walked up beside him, slipping her hand into his. What are you thinking about? She asked. How fast it went. How lucky I am. Vincent turned to look at her. At 45, she was even more beautiful than she'd been at 25. Laugh lines around her eyes. A confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was and what she was worth. I almost missed this. Almost let fear and control keep me from the best thing that ever happened to me. But you didn't. Aniyah squeezed his hand. You took the risk. You let me in. You became the man I always knew you could be. I'm still possessive, Vincent admitted. Still get jealous when men look at you too long. I know. She smiled. I kind of love that about you. Really? Really. As long as you don't crack any more champagne glasses. Vincent laughed. I'll try to restrain myself. Marco called from across the room, asking Vincent to take a photo with the family. They gathered together, Vincent and Aniyah in the center, their 3 children surrounding them, Margaret beaming from her seat on the couch. As the camera flashed, Vincent thought about the journey that had brought him here. From cold and controlled to open and vulnerable. From a man afraid to feel to a man who felt everything deeply. From Vincent Mangano the ruthless businessman to Vincent Mangano the husband, the father, the man who'd learned that love was the greatest risk and the greatest reward. I love you, he murmured to Aniyah. I love you too, she replied. Even when you're insufferably possessive. Especially then. Especially then. After the party ended and the kids had left and the apartment was quiet again, Vincent and Aniyah stood together at the window, watching the city lights. You know what I realized? Vincent said. What? That jealousy isn't always bad. The night I saw you with Marcus, that jealousy was really just me finally admitting what I'd been denying for 2 years. That I loved you. That I couldn't imagine my life without you. That the thought of losing you felt like dying. So jealousy can be clarity. In the right circumstances. With the right person. Vincent pulled her close. You were always the right person, Aniyah. From the moment you walked into my office and refused to be intimidated by me. You were it. You were it for me too, Aniyah admitted. I just didn't know how to admit it. How to risk everything for something that felt impossible. Nothing's impossible. Vincent kissed her forehead. We proved that. They had proved it. 2 decades of marriage. 3 children. A life built on honesty and vulnerability and choosing each other even when it was hard. The man who'd cracked a champagne glass in jealous rage had learned to channel that intensity into love. Into partnership. Into building something that lasted. And the woman who'd demanded boundaries and respect had learned that sometimes the scariest thing is the most worthwhile. That loving someone dangerous doesn't mean losing yourself, it means finding someone brave enough to meet you as an equal. Together, they'd built an empire. Not of business deals and financial success, though those existed too. But an empire of moments. Of laughter and tears and ordinary magic. Of children who knew they were loved. Of a partnership that had weathered storms and come out stronger. Thank you, Vincent said quietly. For what? For seeing me. For believing in me. For giving me this life. You gave me this life too. Aniyah turned in his arms. We gave it to each other. Vincent kissed his wife as the city sparkled below them, as their future stretched out bright and beautiful and theirs. He'd started as a man who thought love was weakness. Who believed control was safety. Who cracked champagne glasses and ran background checks and thought he could own what he wanted. He'd become a man who knew better. Who understood that love was courage. That surrender was strength. That the best things in life couldn't be controlled, only cherished. The mafia boss who'd exploded with jealousy over a simple date had learned the most important lesson of all, that true power isn't about dominance or control. True power is loving someone enough to let them change you. To risk everything. To choose them every single day, even when it's terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying. And Vincent Mangano chose Aniyah Roseman, now Mangano, every single day for the rest of his life. What did you think? Would you take a risk like Aniyah did? Or was Vincent's jealousy too much? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Don't forget to hit that like button, also drop a comment telling me your favorite moment, and subscribe for more emotional, dramatic, romantic stories that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. Your support means everything. Let's build this community together. Until next time, stay romantic, stay brave, and remember, the best love stories are the ones worth fighting for. Thanks for watching.